It's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to speak at your National Council. While I know emissions trading is not your necessarily favourite topic, I'm hopeful I might get a better reception than I got with the bikers on Tuesday at Parliament. Can I acknowledge your President Don, the Board of Fed Farmers, your CO Conor English, your newly elected Vice President Donald Albury, provincial presidents, particularly my home group in Nelson, and industry group leaders, and those of you who have travelled here from farms and rural communities all over New Zealand. My invitation from Federated Farmers was invited to speak about emissions trading with a suggested title of Taking Agriculture Forward with an Emissions Trading Scheme, which is a topic I welcome the opportunity to speak with you on. Yesterday you heard from the Prime Minister a pretty unequivocal message that this government is committed to a carefully balanced agenda of both economic and environmental goals. The two are intricately linked. We need a strong, growing economy to enable us to both protect and enjoy this country's plentiful natural resources, but equally so, we are very dependent on the wise management of those natural resources for our ongoing wealth creation. Many of you will have heard my associate, Tim Grosser, who's in charge of the international negotiations, who is more aware than anyone of the reality in global markets and the crucial balance we must strike between growing our economy and protecting our important brand. He makes the point very eloquently that the opportunities for New Zealand food producers are great, that trade agreements are important to securing these opportunities, but that the customer is very much becoming the new regulator this century. Last week, the Guardian newspaper gave New Zealand a bit of a serve. It highlighted the gap between the rhetoric of New Zealand claiming to be a global leader on climate change and having one of the largest increases in emissions amongst developed countries. We are going to face scrutiny, and it is in both our economic and environmental interests for farmers more than anybody that we match up. I apply this view not just to climate change, but to issues of water quality, of biodiversity, animal welfare, albeit it's on this issue of climate change and emissions trading that I want to focus today. Can I firstly give the issue a bit of context? Climate change, as Australian advisor Ross Gownell said, is a diabolical problem. First, the science is complex. Try explaining it in a 30-second radio soundbite. This is an issue in risk management where there are unknowns, but of which there is sufficient information that we need to act. Secondly, the economics of climate change is huge. The emitting of greenhouse gases has been at the core of our industrialised societies for almost 2 centuries, and change is going to come at a significant cost. Thirdly, as a global issue, it suffers from the tragedy of the commons. No one country can solve the problem alone, but getting an agreement on a fair share of what each country should do requires the wisdom of Solomon. And finally, this is a long-term issue. It is about intergenerational equity. The harm from climate change is unlikely to cause us too much grief in this generation, but for our grandchildren and beyond, the consequences are very significant. Can I take you through the logic of the government's climate change policies from quite the high-level principles down onto the issues of our amendments to the ETS, and most importantly for you, the issues around agriculture. First up, it is our government's view that New Zealand needs to pull its weight and do its fair share on climate change. It's important to us economically. We cannot expect trade access and consumers to buy our products if we are laggards. It's important to us environmentally. our important industries, our unique lifestyle, are very reliant on our natural systems. It's also important to our reputation of how the world sees us and actually how we see ourselves. The Anzacs weren't bludgers. Doing our fair share on global issues is actually part of our national psyche. Now, this fair share approach underpinning our work is a change from the mantra of the previous government who wanted to position New Zealand as a climate change world leader and proclaim that we would be the first carbon neutral country in the world. The credibility problem with this approach is that our emissions over the last decade have actually increased at one of the fastest rates of any developed country. We've brought a new sense of realism to climate change policy. For a small country with half its emissions coming from agriculture, one of the highest proportions of renewable energy, with a far-flung population with limited opportunities for public transport, the challenge to reduce emissions for New Zealand is actually a pretty daunting task. To avoid the sort of damage and criticism last week in the Guardian, our approach is about toning down the rhetoric and getting on with the substantive climate change policies that will change the track of our emissions growth. It's easy in this policy area to get seduced by symbolic policies that actually make little difference. Early this year, I dumped the $10 million carbon neutral public sector program. Our entire public bureaucracy in Wellington here emits less in a year than Huntly does in 12 months.